The analysis and commentary in this video are based on public sources and represent the channel's own perspective on unfolding geopolitical events. The air thickens quickly when tragedy meets policy, and few policies carry the potent, almost mythical weight of the American Diversity Visa Lottery. It is the annual golden ticket, a bureaucratic throw of the dice offering 50,000 lives a chance to step across the threshold into a radically different future, requiring no family sponsorship, no specific employer, only minimal qualifications and the sheer grace of random chance. But in the cold, late December climate of 2025, that dream was violently shattered. The immediate suspension of the green card lottery by the Trump administration, following the horrific events at Brown University and the subsequent murder of an MIT professor, was less a measured policy shift and more a political earthquake, instantly linking a celebrated path to legal residency with profound national insecurity. We must ask, was this swift, sweeping action a necessary safeguard against a flawed mechanism, or merely the latest skirmish in a protracted war against diversity and immigration, leveraging isolated horror for systemic change? The immediate narrative, amplified by the highest levels of government, was stark and absolute. The alleged perpetrator, Claudio Manuel Neves Valente, a 48-year-old Portuguese national and former student, had entered the United States and obtained his green card via the very lottery system that purports to enrich the American melting pot. His subsequent alleged acts of violence, culminating in his apparent suicide, provided a horrifying, visceral data point that the administration seized upon instantly. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem wasted no time demanding the temporary halt of the program, officially known as the Diversity Immigrant Visa Program. While her subsequent social media post offered a clear declaration of intent, this individual should never have been permitted entry to our nation. The temporary halt ensures no more Americans are harmed by this destructive loophole. It seems highly probable that the administration saw this isolated tragedy not just as a crisis, but as a potent political opportunity. This is particularly salient given the administration's consistent pattern of restricting migration flows, evidenced by the prior tightening of visas from developing nations and the staggering increase in the application fees for highly skilled H-1B visas, sometimes spiking those fees by up to $100,000, effectively prioritizing enforcement and restricting volume across the board. The sheer statistical irony is that the DV lottery, established in 1990, was designed precisely to correct the historical imbalance that favored immigrants from a few specific countries, ensuring that 50,000 slots per year were allocated based on origin diversity. Yet this very randomness, this reliance on chance rather than employment skill or family ties, became its profound vulnerability in the eyes of restrictionist critics. The conflict, therefore, lies not in the failure of the vetting process, which, despite its flaws, is still substantial, but in the mechanism of entry itself. One hypothesis is that the suspension serves a dual purpose. First, it provides immediate emotional validation to a public reeling from violence, and second, it allows the administration to dismantle a program fundamentally antithetical to its core ideology, favoring a merit-based, skills-oriented system. The underlying emotional connection for many voters who support these restrictive measures is a genuine fear that a truly open, diverse system is inherently uncontrollable. But let us slow the pace and examine the counter-argument that gives weight to the complexity of the issue. Many critics would argue that attributing the tragedy solely to the lottery mechanism is a profound misreading of both statistics and human psychology, confusing correlation with causality. For every one alleged criminal who enters through the DV program, tens of thousands of productive, law-abiding individuals use it to contribute to the nation's economy and culture. Furthermore, the vetting process for the DV visa is not non-existent. Those selected in the draw must still satisfy rigorous interviews, background checks, and medical examinations. If there was a security lapse regarding Mr. Valente, the failure lies potentially in the depth or execution of the security screening post-selection, not in the initial randomness of the draw itself. The true climax of this policy shift is the realization that the temporary suspension may become permanent, acting as the final, dramatic break with decades of diversity-focused immigration policy. The immediate risks are clear. The U.S. risks damaging its global soft power by signaling that its doors are closed to general diversity, preferring instead only pre-selected technical talent. The suspension also eliminates a vital safety valve for those without family ties or elite skills, potentially driving higher volumes of desperate migration into less regulated, undocumented channels. The administration's stated plan to significantly expand immigrant detention capacity, potentially using 24 supercenters across the country, further underscores the shift from integration to enforcement, hardening the internal borders of the nation. The ultimate plot twist is that the lottery suspension was never about fixing a minor security flaw in a single visa category. It was about symbolically extinguishing the principle of diversity itself, completing a fundamental, structural transformation. The golden ticket has been revoked, and the gatekeeper now demands credentials written in the language of economics and security, leaving the concept of a chance entry to the American dream suspended in limbo.